To understand why Einstein's relativity was so revolutionary, we must first appreciate what it replaced. By 1900, Newtonian mechanics had reigned supreme for over 200 years. It described the motion of planets, the fall of apples, the flight of cannonballs, the tides of oceans, all with perfect mathematical precision. James Clerk Maxwell had unified electricity and magnetism into a single elegant theory of electromagnetic waves. Thermodynamics explained heat and energy. Physics appeared essentially complete. Some senior physicists literally told their students there was little left to discover, only more decimal places to measure. The universe appeared to be a grand, deterministic clockwork machine, running on absolute space and absolute time. That confidence was about to be shattered. Maxwell's equations predicted that light was an electromagnetic wave traveling at a fixed speed, 299,792 kilometers per second. But waves need a medium. Sound waves need air. Water waves need water. Physicists therefore assumed space was filled with a substance called the luminiferous ether, a perfectly rigid, invisible medium through which light propagated. In 1887, Albert Michelson and Edward Morley built the most sensitive optical instrument yet devised to detect Earth's motion through this ether. Their reasoning was simple. If Earth moves through the ether, light traveling with and against the ether's wind should travel at different speeds. Their result was devastating. No difference whatsoever. The ether showed no detectable effect. This was not a small discrepancy. It was a complete null result that shook physics to its foundations. In 1905, his extraordinary miracle year, Einstein published his special theory of relativity. He did not begin with complex mathematics. He began with two deceptively simple postulates. First, the laws of physics are the same for all observers moving at constant velocity relative to one another. There is no privileged frame of reference, no absolute rest. Second, the speed of light in a vacuum is constant for all observers, regardless of the motion of the source or the observer. That second postulate is the earthquake. It says that no matter how fast you move, light always recedes from you at the same speed. To make these two postulates mutually consistent, Einstein showed our intuitions about space, time, and simultaneity must be completely abandoned. Here is where special relativity first becomes genuinely mind-bending. Simultaneity is relative. Two events that appear to happen at the same time for one observer do not necessarily appear simultaneous for another observer moving relative to the first. Einstein illustrated this with a classic thought experiment. Imagine lightning strikes both ends of a moving train at what an embankment observer judges to be the same moment. The observer on the train, however, is moving toward one lightning strike and away from the other. Since light travels at the same speed for everyone, the signals reach the train observer at different times, so for them, the strikes were not simultaneous. Neither observer is wrong. Simultaneity is not a universal fact of nature. It depends entirely on your state of motion. This was Einstein's first radical conclusion. The most dramatic consequence of Einstein's postulates is time dilation. Moving clocks run slower than stationary ones. This is not a measurement error or a trick of perspective. Time literally passes more slowly for objects in motion. The effect can be derived with elegant simplicity using a light clock, a device where time is measured by a photon bouncing between two mirrors. For a moving clock, the photon must travel a longer diagonal path between bounces. Since the speed of light is fixed, each tick takes longer. The faster the motion, the slower the clock. At 99% the speed of light, a clock runs about 7 times slower than a stationary one. At the speed of light itself, time would stop entirely, which is why nothing with mass can ever reach it. This is not theory. Atomic clocks on satellites must correct for time dilation every day. Length contraction is the companion phenomenon to time dilation. Objects in motion are shorter in the direction of motion, as measured by a stationary observer. Again, this is not an illusion. The faster an object moves, the shorter it appears along its direction of travel. At 87% the speed of light, it shrinks to half its rest length. At 99.9% to about 4.5%. The mathematical framework connecting measurements between frames is the Lorentz transformation, named after Hendrik Lorentz, who derived the equations before Einstein, but without fully grasping their physical meaning. Einstein revealed that these transformations are not a correction to absolute space and time. They're the fundamental truth about how space and time actually behave. A beautiful real-world confirmation, cosmic ray muons, which should decay before reaching Earth's surface, survive because their time is dilated and our distances are contracted in their frame. Perhaps the most profound statement in all of science: mass and energy are equivalent. They are the same physical quantity, expressed in different forms, convertible into each other at the exchange rate of the speed of light squared, an astronomically large number. This means a tiny amount of mass holds enormous energy. 1 kilogram of matter converted entirely to energy would release approximately 90 petajoules, equivalent to the simultaneous detonation of about 21 megatons of TNT. The sun burns by converting roughly 4 million metric tons of mass into pure energy every single second through nuclear fusion. Particle accelerators run the equation in reverse. They pour energy into collisions and watch new massive particles appear from nothing but kinetic energy. Mass is not a fixed identity. It is crystallized energy. Einstein's special relativity culminates in a concept introduced by his former mathematics professor Hermann Minkowski in 1908: spacetime. Space and time are not separate, independent arenas. They are woven together into a single, four-dimensional continuum. What one observer measures as purely spatial distance, another moving relative to the first measures as a mixture of space and time. Only the space-time interval, a combination of both, is the same for all observers. The universe does not unfold in space through time. It simply exists as a four-dimensional space-time block, with every event permanently located at its space-time coordinates. This is the foundation on which Einstein would later build general relativity, where mass curves space-time itself, and what we call gravity is the curvature of that fabric. We have left classical physics forever. The door to quantum mechanics awaits.